vibration. I didn't know would be the first thing that I wanted to say.
So when you said, what was on your mind?
What was on my mind was bringing subjects up to speed, bringing new subjects up to speed. So you have your life that has elements of steadiness, because we're all here, so we have elements of steadiness, of thriving and surviving. And then you have...
It's your strongest trend.
Strongest trend.
It's your
always.
strongest overall trend.
Yes.
Yes. And then?
And then you want to include something else, more.
You want to expand in new areas or refine areas or fix areas. What are you getting at?
I'm getting at that you have a steadiness, and then you get an inspiration for something that, like an idea. For example, I have been getting a steadiness about being a teacher. And so I had a calling. It's been 3 years, give or take, that it was a very strong calling, that it was my turn to share.
What we want to get at here is that steadiness that you're talking about. Now let's just, for an easier way of hearing that, let's call that you're coming from the upper half of the emotional scale. That's why in the moment you're calling it steadiness.
Okay.
So then when an idea occurs to you from that steadiness or that upper half of the emotional scale, then that means it's inspired from your inner being's understanding of who you are and what you want. And so that impulse or that calling, as you call it, is your inner being offering its vibration and you being in the receptive mode of receiving it. That's how it works, isn't it?
Yes.
So many people try to steady themselves from an unsteady place, and it doesn't work out. From the lower half of the scale, they try to fix something. Where if from the upper half of the scale you allow yourself to be called there, it's a whole different thing, isn't it?
Yes. You're not like making it up. Like there is
You never are. You
Okay.
never are making it up, because it's always attraction and it's always coming from some place, from some trend. You're never making it up. The question is, what is the vibrational frequency to which you are becoming more and more a trending cooperative component? You're following us? Because whatever's most active in your vibration, that's what you are trending toward. So that's why you want to catch yourself in the early subtle stages of slipping into the trending in the direction of what isn't wanted, almost thought by thought. Esther is saying to herself these days, ooh, that thought does not feel that good. And the thought is inspired by surroundings, by conversation, by expectations and beliefs. It's inspired by the law of attraction, who is actively responsive to everything that you've got going on. So we can agree that you got a lot going on all the time, but you could be more aware of what you've got going on, and you could be more deliberate in the direction of your focus. Now come back around to your original premise for wanting to have a conversation.
Okay, so it changed a little bit. So the first thought was you have a subject that you're bringing up to speed, but now based off of what you said, that isn't totally accurate of what I wanted to present. So you're feeling good. You're in the trend of feeling good.
And you got lots of good feeling subjects to choose from.
Yes. And you get inspired by one more than another.
Well, you're inspired by your inner being who knows which of these subjects matters more to you, because there is an order of them. There is a hierarchy of them in terms of which subject really has the potential for yielding the most satisfaction.
And is ready the most. It's probably most ready because it's not new.
So wait, let's talk about this. So are you suggesting that the subject that is the most ready is the subject that matters the most?
Yeah.
We don't think so, and here's
the
why.
subject that's most ready.
The subject that's the most ready is just the subject you've given the most attention to.
Okay. It's kind of funny because I didn't even know I was giving this particular subject a lot of attention.
What if throughout your life you've explored the contrast and known what you don't want and known what you do want? And what if you've launched thousands and thousands and thousands of rockets of desire that have culminated together, that are actually cooperative components to one another? So they have become a strong point of attraction to which your inner being is focused. In other words, your inner being tends to everything as the cooperation, because of law of attraction, happens. So then when you get an impulse, you do understand that all that impulse means is that you are right here, right now, in the moment of that impulse, on the same vibrational wave. Maybe it's been inspired by something you've seen in your physical atmosphere, which was undoubtedly inspired by your inner being who called you there. But the thing that we wanted to clarify just a little bit is, especially when you consider upper half and lower half of the scale in a combined way, the things that matter the most to you are not necessarily the things you think about the most, because you are humans who are always trying to fix stuff. So often the things you are thinking about from the I need to fix it, or I need to smooth it, or I need to soothe it, or I need to satisfy someone else. And those are not necessarily the things that your inner being is calling you to. That's why after quieting your mind and meditating and stilling that vibration, stilling the trend for a moment, you allow the true trend of who you are to dominate. Did that make sense to you? That's why we say meditation is such a good thing. Appreciation is such a good thing. Holding yourself as steady as you can for no particular reason, in an attitude of feeling good, so that you are in that responsive mode to hear the calling. And that's what's happening to you. That's why you're hearing that more and more, is because you are attempting to control your life less and less as you understand more and more of all of this.
Okay, so then you have the inspiration that it's time or something's ready. And
so you have the inspiration, meaning you pick up on the vibration, which means you're in the receiving mode of your inner being. And so you are picking up on the vibration. More than picking up on the vibration, you are at one with it. So you can't tell the thought of your inner being from your own thought, because they are one and the same.
Yeah.
So that's why you say you have the inspiration. We just thought we'd explain with a little more detail what's going on.
Okay. So for me, sometimes when that happens, I let it feel good, and then I argue with it. It's true that I'm like,
we're not questioning that. We know it's true. Maybe you would like to consider for a little bit why you do that.
Okay, so this was a little bit of like what I was thinking about when I came up here, of like bringing the subject up to speed, because it comes and
the
you're like,
subject is up to speed. It's you that needs to come up to speed.
Yes.
The subject is so up to speed that you can't quite hook into it all the time. That's why you want to argue with it.
Okay.
That's because humans have been trained to be so objective. You weigh the pros and the cons. But here's the piece we want you to hear. The evaluating the pros and the cons and the pluses and the minuses. That's already happened throughout all that you've been living. That vortex, as it exists now, has already vetted all of that. That's all been vetted and concluded and agreed upon. So this is where the perfect phrase, arguing for your limitations, comes from. And it really amounts to, and we're going to say this to you with all the love that we can muster.
Oh, you can say it.
It's arguing for the sake of arguing.
Of course.
It's arguing for the sake of making sure that I'm not making a mistake, making sure that I have considered everything. But what we really want this conversation to be about is that the vortex has been well considered. And when your inner being calls you towards something, It's not a maybe she'll like this. It's not a, oh, maybe this is a good idea. Maybe not. Let's just give it a go. There's nothing like that going on in the vortex. The vortex is energy that creates worlds. It's ready to rock and roll. It is. The question is, are you? And when you argue for the sake of arguing, that's just you not trusting your vortex. Or it's you not really understanding that step one matters and that step one created this vibrational reality to which you are now wanting to line up. We know. Are you following this? If you're just starting in this conversation and you've not heard about step one, step two, step three, then this conversation sounds like gobbledygook to you. But if you really get it, it's the thing that we really spend the most time explaining, one-on-one or in groups like this. If you could conscientiously, deliberately, thoughtfully consider the difference between asking and receiving. And so don't you think it's kind of funny that when you're in the receiving mode, you're still asking? That's splitting the energy. When you're in the receiving mode, receive. Don't keep asking, but. Your children have taught you that. But. And it comes from being around other humans who are less sure of everything. And in that insecurity, they're just considering everything, never bringing clarity from the chaos, just keeping the chaos stirred up. But once you have defined something, and once you have isolated it, and once you have felt the feeling of it, and then once you have calibrated to it, you can let yourself go, and oh, how much fun you have then. And will the idea of it continue to evolve and expand? For sure. For sure. You're going to keep adding to it. Enough?
No. There's like
You're not surprised, are you?